Sunday came, I snuck him into church. I sit way back in the very last pew, showing him off to my good buddy Hugh, and that squirrel got loose and went totally berserk. What happened next was hard to tell. Some thought it was heaven, others thought it was hell, but the fact that something was among us was plain to see. As the choir sang, I surrender all. The squirrel run up Harm Newman's coveralls. Harm left his feet, said, something's got a hold on me. Yeah! The day the squirrel went berserk in the first Baptist church, and that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and a shout, hallelujah! Well, Harv hit the aisles dancing and screaming. Some thought he had religion, others thought he had a demon, and Harv thought he had a weed eater loose in his fruit of the loom. But he fell to his knees to bleed big, and that squirrel run out of his breeches leg unobserved to the other side of the room. Now way on down in the Amen pew, where sat Sister Bertha Better Than You, who had been watching all the commotion with sadistic glee. You ought to seen the look in her eyes when that squirrel jumped her garter and crossed her thigh. She leapt to her feet and said, Lord, have mercy on me. As that squirrel made laps inside her dress, she began to cry and then to confess of sins that make a sailor blush with shame. She talked of gossip and church dissension, but the thing that got the most attention is when she talked about her love life, and then she started naming names. The day the squirrel went berserk in the first self-righteous church, and that sleepy little town of Pascagoula. It was a fight for survival that broke out in revival. They were jumping pews and a shout, hallelujah! Well, 7 deacons and the pastor got saved, and $25,000 was raised, and 50 volunteered for missions in the Congo on the spot. And even without an invitation, there were at least 500 rededications, and we all got rebaptized whether we needed it or not. Now you've heard the Bible story, I guess, how he parted the waters for Moses to pass. All the miracles God's wrought in this old world. But I'll never forget to my dying day how he put a little church back on a narrow way.